In May 1980, Fidel Castro opened the harbor of Mariel, Cuba, with the apparent intention of letting some of his people join their relatives in the United States. Within 72 hours, 3,000 U.S. boats were headed for Cuba. It soon became evident that Castro was forcing the boat owners to carry back with them not only their relatives, but the dregs of his jail cells. Of the 125,000 refugees that landed in Florida, an estimated 25,000 had criminal records. I'm Austin Johnson,
I'm Connor Eyzaguirre.
and this is Filmgazm. We're continuing our run of anniversary films today with Scarface, 1983, 40 years old. Let's fucking jump right in. What is your journey with this movie?
Damn. I caught a scene from Scarface on TV at a beach house when I was a kid. And it was the scene where Omar gets hung from the fucking chopper. And I had no context at all. I was like, what? Whoa. I was like 9, 10 years old. And I was like, holy, whoa. A couple years later, I watched Scarface and I saw that scene again. And I'm like, oh my God, that's the movie from the beach house. And I thought it was badass. And then I just didn't watch it again for my entire life until now. This was my second time watching Scarface. I had bought the Blu-ray. I had it as part of my collection because I knew like I liked this movie. I just hadn't watched it in a decade. And it fucking slaps, man. This is one of the best gangster films of all time for a reason. It's just so fucking brutal, unforgiving, honest, and just like so racist that it like it almost goes full circle back into acceptable. It's so weird. It's like when you're so pissed off, you're calm.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, dude. I totally hear that. I don't know. I mean, we can get into some of the, like Al Pacino playing Tony Montana, a guy from Cuba. We can get into some of that stuff. But I don't know. I mean, I love this movie. I'm like you. I agree. I think it has just stood the test of time and still rocks, still rules. There's no, there's not really any lesson to be learned here. It's just fucking crazy shit happening over and over. There's like ridiculous over the top violence, ridiculous dialogue from Oliver Stone, ridiculous directing from Brian De Palma. No one played anything safe here. The score is ridiculous. The cinematography is ridiculous. Al Pacino is unbelievable in this movie, and not even unbelievable like wow, what a performance. It's more like this guy can scream. This guy can really fucking scream, and I don't know. I just love it. I get why some people it just doesn't vibe with them. I get it. I just think if you're kind of like one of those crime gangster, kind of just addicts, it's gonna be on your list of favorite from that subgenre, right?
Yeah, I mean, I remember in college whenever we'd have this the beginning of every semester, they'd be selling a bunch of posters in the quad. And without fail, Scarface posters all over the place. It's one of those dorm room, oh, Tony Montana's my guy. Like, he conquered the American dream. And I'm like, did you watch the movie?
Yeah, no,
I
he
don't I
failed.
don't know if that's true. He's like Tyler Durden and Patrick Bateman and these like iconic film characters that the people are projecting the wrong shit onto and just
Yeah,
making their lives unnecessarily complicated and weird. He's one of those guys.
he is. I love that you brought that up with the posters. Yeah, I mean, he's definitely Tyler Durden. Those guys, he's definitely in that class. Especially more 80s 90s stuff that has lived on and it still gets talked about all the time and has those kind of those one liners that dudes just say, like to say hello to my little friend, like those things that Tony Montana, it's just endless. Like there's just endless, and I love all that stuff, too. I'm a dude, but I also like a lot of other things about the movie. I had a poster. I mean, I've seen this movie, I don't know, upwards of 40 times probably, and I had it's like 3 hours. It doesn't need to be, but it is, and I'm okay with that. I had this poster. It was a $100 bill
I
and it
remember
had
that.
and it had Tony Montana smoking a cigar, and it said, "Who do I trust? I trust me." And I bought it like at a flea market or something. I can't remember exactly where I was. Probably here in San Antonio, but and like the two guys that introduced me to Scarface when I was probably 13 or 14, and I know I was in middle school. Jacob and Arnold Adame, they were both like head over heels, like obsessed with Scarface. Uh, both come from Mexican American. They're brothers. They come from Mexican American family, and their dad was kind of a kind of ran in the streets when they were younger. So they very much idolized like the gangster lifestyle, right? Uh, they understood like it's a cautionary tale, but they also were like, yeah, it's so badass, like take what's yours, And like when you're young, they don't think this now because like we've had those conversations, but when we were in middle school, they definitely felt that way. Like, oh, it's so fucking cool, like The Godfather and these Scarface, these like gangster flicks are just so sick. And I remember I bought that poster sometime after they showed it to me, and I remember being like, "Oh man, Arnold and Jacob are gonna think this is sick," like fuck yeah. So like I had it proudly, like in my bedroom, proudly on the wall next to like a Rush poster and Iron Maiden or something. And like I remember when they walked in, and the older one, Jacob, was just like, "Dude, that's the stupidest shit that's the stupidest shit I've ever seen." Like it looks because it looked so cheap the way it was made, is like very clearly like a fan made thing. And he's like, "It looks terrible." he's like, "Dude, like, take it down." But then Arnold was like, "No, I think it's kind of cool, man. I kind of like it." So I was conflicted, I was conflicted about this poster, but we all loved that movie. We watched it together nonstop, going through middle school and high school, and I have to, I owe them a lot for a lot of the movies that I still love to this day, especially from this kind of subgenre, because they exposed me to a lot of them. They just had a way better knowledge than I did at that time. And Scarface was just one of those. So I'm very biased towards it. I have a hard time. I understand the negative stuff people say about it. It's valid. I'm just like, I put my blinders on. This is like a 9 out of 10 type movie, 4.5 stars. I just love it. I just think it's fucking awesome. So I'm really excited to do this with you today. I do want to ask you. We both clearly like this movie, but Brian De Palma is the man. He is he's one of those dudes. So I feel like it wouldn't be right if I didn't open with a question for you. What is your favorite Brian De Palma directed movie?
Well, that is a question, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
I gotta say, for me, nothing beats The Untouchables.
I figured it was that or Carrie. Yeah.
I love Carrie, but The Untouchables is fucking fun on a bun, to quote my favorite robot.
Yeah.
That it's four incorruptible cops taking on Capone, played by a just scenery chewing De Niro. The whole fucking enthusiasm scene, Malone. It's perfect. The Untouchable, Morricone's awesome score. It's like the only movie where I've like really fucking liked Costner. And
yeah,
it's pretty much perfect to me. I mean, it's completely historically inaccurate. None of that shit went down like that. But I don't fucking care. I'm here to watch, the Treasury Department take down the original Scarface.
Yeah. Yes. I love the Untouchables. I haven't seen it in a few years. We had it planned out different times on Oscar Sunday, and it always kind of like fell to something else that was more timely or something. But God, we got to do an episode on that movie, man. Like it's so good, and I know you have an adoration for it. That's something we got to talk about at some point. I mean, we could just fucking do it one day. Who cares? Yeah, Carrie you mentioned is great. He does famously does the first Mission Impossible, which is so weird. Carlito's Way is awesome. Of course, Scarface, but for me, it definitely goes back to right before Scarface, Blowout, 1981. That's my favorite. John Travolta just fucking lights out in that movie. To me, it showcases Brian De Palma's like skill the best. It's such a fucking tense, like tight movie. and so sad and so like fucked up, and you can feel him just like pouring all of his talent into that movie. And I love when that happens. I love when things just kind of like the stars align, and and you can tell there's certain scenes. There's specifically one scene that people who have seen the movie will kind of know, but it's a scene where Travolta is by himself, kind of he's figuring stuff out in the middle of the movie, and the way the camera moves around the room is like I'm this is like why I watch movies. So I love Blowout. Dress to Kill fucking rules. Love that movie too. Body Double fucking rules. Like De Palma had Sisters. I love Sisters. I just think De Palma has like 8 or 9 movies that I'm like all in on, you know, and he's someone that's important. And Scarface is certainly in that group of 8 or 9 that I definitely approve of.
When I read Quentin Tarantino's cinematic speculation, De Palma is a director that comes up a lot. He's got a whole chapter dedicated to Sisters, which I watched a while back as one of your recommendations for the podcast back when we were doing that kind of structure. And that was a neat film, not what I expected, and definitely like a weird film. And De Palma is a director who's really hard to pin down, like with a style or a genre. He really is a jack of all trades who just makes stories he believes in, which is really cool. I respect the hell out of that. And yeah, he's a guy I definitely want to check out more of. I have Blowout. I plan to watch that soon.
Yeah, dude. Oh my God. You're going to fall in love. Like, no, I mean, it has a lot of things that I think you're all like, first off, Travolta, it's like hands down the best thing I've seen him do. And like best performance. Nancy Allen's great, but you're gonna like be like John Lithgow, like what the fuck, like he's amazing in it. You know, and yeah, it's got this weird like score and soundtrack. It's just like the '80s has some of those but it works. Like, what is it? Like The Shining. The Shining had like it's this like insane Kubrick movie, but it has this like really crazy score. But at the time, like was up for Razzies, right? But then like you look back and the thing has one of those scores too, 1982, where like at the time people were like kind of making fun of it. But then you look back and you're like, oh my God, that was like genius. That was like one of the best touches of the movie. I think Scarface has that. Thief, Michael Mann, 1981 has that. Blowout has that. Just like synthy, odd, like completely off kilter from like what we're used to now, like what scores are now. And it's not subtle, you know, it's like very like, wing, you know, Scarface is all over the place with its score. So like I love that about some of those, especially those early 80s movies.
Well, the cool thing that the 80s had that no other decade had before it was VHS.
Yeah.
People could watch these movies again. So like if it didn't do well in the theaters immediately, people could discover it again quickly. So these films became cult successes way faster than they would in the past. You know, if a movie didn't do well in like 1973, you had to hope as a director that some theater had a reel of it and played it on like a slow Wednesday. And some people went to go see it and talked about it with their friends. But you could just, go to your video store and go rent or buy, if you had that kind of money, Scarface and say like, damn, this thing's pretty cool.
Yeah.
And that's how a lot of films found really quick second wins. And I like that a lot. I'm glad that happened.
Oh yeah, and for as much shit as we can give like the modern like what the modern industry, I mean, what a time to be. It's a shame there's not as many people who care about going backwards, because right now it's the power, like it's in your hand. You can so easily go through these different streaming services and find access to stuff and get codes for Voodoo and sign up for different things you want. Go on YouTube. There's full movies on YouTube. Like they're just at your fingertips, right? And we take that for granted. I don't. I definitely don't. I know you don't. The fact that I can dedicate a day to Brian De Palma, I can go on Criterion, watch Blowout, Dress to Kill, Body Double, bang, bang, bang. And like, that's my day. My whole day is centered around Brian De Palma. And then it's on me. And I love that power and that kind of pressure I put on myself to not only watch the movies, but like figure out what people thought about it then, what people think about it now, what do creative people think about it, what does like Martin Scorsese think about this stuff, what does Tarantino think about this stuff. anybody, anybody who's a creative who has a movie mind, makes their own movies. What do they think about De Palma? What do they think about Scarface? You know what I mean? Like, it's up to you. And like, I love that. I love that I have that. It's up to me. Like, I'm cool with that. Who do I trust? I trust me.
And when you devote that kind of time to exploring a director's work, it's going to reinforce any discussion you have about that work. So like all of that stuff, watching those movies, even if it doesn't come up that much in, say, a Scarface episode, it's going to be in the back of your mind, influencing your discussion, which is great.
Yeah. And you know what? I don't like, of course, like I talk to you a lot about this stuff, and you're one of the only people in my life that knows what I'm saying when I say blowout, dress to kill, body double all in a row. It's for me. It's for me. I have the own conversation in my own head with myself. If you're not cool with who you are and who like what you're doing with your spare time and your hobbies, then like, what the fuck are you doing it for? So like, I'm glad I watched Scarface, even if we're not doing it right here, because there was a couple things where I was like, wow, I've seen this movie dozens of times, but I've heard that or seen that, but I never quite connected to it the same way I did in my own bedroom, right here, lights off on this particular TV with the sound at this particular volume. Every single viewing is different. Every single one has its own like little twist, and you have to find it and figure it out. And like, that's for you. That's for you to have and to hold on to. Otherwise, I'm going to go crazy. So I have to do this with the movies. I watched Blowout, and sure, immediately I was like, man, I want to do a podcast on this, but I didn't. And I still idolize and adore that particular viewing that I had of it. I'm never going to forget it.
Yeah. Nice. I mean, I tried to do that. I tried to turn every film I was watching into a podcast. I got 3 episodes into that and I fucking hated it. So like we got to reserve these for discussions that need to happen. And that could be, Blowout could be one that we do eventually when we feel like we need to do it.
Correct. Or you have to let it come out like organically, which with Scarface, we could have done this for the past 5 years, but we didn't. And then you and I were like, let's build an anniversary line, like a line of movies that are all hitting anniversary, whether it be in October, we're going to do horror movies. In November, we're going to pick some, I basically got to pick like some like deep personal favorites. And then for December, we're doing some like Christmassy stuff, and trying to like kind of go around that. And so then it was like, oh, we could do Scarface, 40 years. Like, this would be a cool time to do it. It came up organically, we could have done it a long time ago, but I like that it came up organically. And yeah, now I'm a bigger De Palma fan than I was 5 years ago.
The way we've kind of, revamped this whole thing and restructured gives us the ability to be way more choosy about our time and the films that we choose to devote the time to. And I really like, that's the way it needs to be.
Yeah, I totally agree. Yeah, we've had some really fun content lately, and we hope to continue doing that throughout the year. And then January, we're going to shake things up again. So it's going to be fun. So your final answer is The Untouchables. I need to rewatch that soon, man. I need to rewatch Carlito's Way. I haven't seen that in a long time either.
I've never seen Carlito's Way.
Oh man. You're gonna, yeah. Pacino and Sean Penn. Fucking hell. Yeah, Carrie's great. I just want your boy. Surely you've seen Snake Eyes.
I have seen Snake Eyes. Yeah, that was an odd duck.
Yeah, it's wild. Yeah.
Yeah, never, even in the worst movie that he's in, Cage is always just a mesmerizing tour de force, and I can watch him read the phone book or paint a house, and I'll be happy.
Yeah, I'm with you, man. I'm glad I've seen Snake Eyes. I don't regret it. Have you seen Casualties of War?
I haven't. I really want to.
Yeah, that one's good. I mean, your guy Michael J. Fox, Sean Penn. I mean, John C. Reilly's in that. It's got a cool cast. So yeah, definitely see that one. There's one that I've been like dying to see from the 70s. It doesn't have this like crazy, I'd say it has kind of like a cult following. The Fury, 1978. It's a horror sci-fi thriller. Kirk Douglas and John Cassavetes are both in it. I really want to see that movie. And regrettably, this feels just wrong. I haven't seen Phantom of the Paradise in 1974, one of his most acclaimed films, and one early, very early in his career. So I got to see that too. Just time. There's only so much we can do.
Yeah, just got to find, you find yourself free with 2 hours. You got to make some decisions. It's, there's thousands, hundreds of thousands of films out there, and I want to see them all, but that's not going to happen.
Yeah. And then I've gone through those things where you're like, all right, now it's time. Hone in on this guy. And you'll do 3 of them, and then you're like, what's over there? Yeah, you're fucking Dory from Finding Nemo. You're just like constantly like, wait a minute, wait, because there's just so much shit out there.
And I'm the opposite. I don't like being stuck in one place for very long. I'm a randomizer. I like, I like a buffet from every, from all corners of the world. I want to taste everything.
Yeah. Yeah. I just get in these headspaces where I'm like, this is Wong Kar-wai a week. This is what I'm doing. And I'll commit to it for like 4 movies. And then I'm like, all right, let's rewatch Mission Impossible. That's my entire watching experience.
Yeah, and there's nothing wrong with that. It's awesome. I love looking at, like, I just go to, when I go to Letterboxd and I just see like friends' activity, I'm like, oh, he's in De Palma now. He's doing Wong Kar-wai. He's doing this franchise. It's like, that makes me laugh. I know you're having a good time.
Oh yeah, I've had a blast. Over October. October's a lot of fun. Then like I made like a declaration at the beginning, like I'm only gonna watch horror movies this month. And then towards the end of the month, I just started like, just Sandlot, Moneyball, just fucking crash and burn. It just didn't happen.
I've stuck pretty close to that. I made the same declaration, and I've done pretty well. I watched From Beyond a couple days ago. Weird fucking movie, but enjoyable. I'm gonna watch the fucking Five Nights at Freddy's movie tonight.
That's horror. You're right. So
yeah, I guess horror.
You know what ruined it for me? What like set the thing ablaze was Killers of the Flower Moon. So I saw that, and then I was like, well, it's ruined now because like that's not a horror movie, and well, I mean it's quite horrifying, but I was like, okay, well, I watched that, so I guess I can watch Moneyball, right?
Yeah, I for me it was like I just want to watch as many new to me horror films as I can get to. It's not like I'm gonna stop watching horror films when November rolls around. I'm gonna just add in every other genre and just resume what I was doing.
Yeah, exactly right. Yeah, the horror watching, quite frankly, never stops. But yeah, you just want to turn it up to 11 when you get to October. That's like what you do, and I love that you've dedicated it to trying to find new stuff. I've definitely watched a lot of just personal, like favorite, like classics. Rewatched all the Scream movies, stuff like The Shining. Like I watched, but I've also done a few, new ones that I've never seen, and yeah, I mean it pays off, man, to stretch out and try something new. Pays off every now and again.
I've been keeping this list of. I've tried to watch one movie a day that's horror or horror adjacent.
Love that. Love it.
I've pulled it off every day. Today I watched like a bunch because my family was having a Halloween party and there was just shit on the whole day. Jason X is the one going on the list because I decided I want to watch Jason Voorhees kill some idiot scientists in space. And
I get it.
Had fun. Yeah. My cousin had never seen it before and we just had a blast. He kept looking at me like, this is stupid, but I'm enjoying this.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. That's a great feeling, though,
Yeah.
It's a good feeling when you're aware of that. The movie's aware of that. The audience next to you, people next to you are aware of it. It's good stuff.
The guy who directed Jason X did not walk onto that set thinking this is going to be my magnum opus.
Yeah. Citizen Kane, hold my beer.
Yeah. He just said like, hey, make sure the blood spurt's working on that machete.
Yeah. We need those. We need those too. Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyways, yeah, I mean, we always do that. We always talk about like our viewing fucking habits. It's interesting. I think it's interesting when you like watch a lot of stuff. It's interesting, and we both do. But Scarface, mentioned Brian De Palma. How about Oliver Stone, the guy who wrote this motherfucker? Now, this is. I guess we can get this out of the way now. You have the book Scarface from 1930, written by Armitage Trail. You have the Howard Hawks directed 1932 film Scarface. This 83 movie really does not have much to do with those other than the title. There's no point in really comparing them because they're just not trying to do that. It's just very different. They're just really sharing the name. Part of me kind of wishes that the Palma and Company would have changed the name of this 83 film with Al Pacino as a Cuban guy. I do wish they would have changed that, but I get it. You're kind of using that, I guess IP. I don't know. It didn't really work because it didn't make that much money at the box office, but that's kind of something I feel like is necessary to mention, right? The Howard Hawks and in the book.
I think it was less about IP and more about De Palma and Stone kind of tipping their hat to Howard Hawks.
You're right, because you're right. Because at the end, doesn't it say dedicated to Howard Hawks and Ben Hecht? Yeah.
That's what it was more about. It's more like, I'm gonna do my version of Scarface in his honor. It's like Carpenter did the same thing with The Thing.
You're right. Yeah. God, The Thing, dude. I watched that a couple weeks ago. My God,
it's gold. It's pure gold. The Thing, it might be the greatest horror film ever made.
Yeah. I don't even know what to say anymore. It's just one of those like, fuck you, like just fuck all the way off. The movie's way too good, it just looks way too easy. That's how smooth it is. Yeah, Scarface. Oliver Stone. I mean, you told me before we started recording that you did get, this is your second time watching it. You didn't realize that he was the one who wrote the screenplay here.
Yeah, that was kind of a mind blower. I should have known that. Admittedly, I'm a cinephile with a film history degree. I should fucking know that. But shit passes me by. There's a lot of movies out there.
Yeah, well, and Oliver Stone, like the guy's filmography is all over the goddamn place. I don't really blame you. Like, I just don't. I don't really blame you for not knowing that he wrote Scarface because it's everywhere. He's obviously a historical guy, and they threw some. How do you say? I mean, some of the stuff is realistic as far as a time and place. I hate the way that the movie has like a disclaimer or whatever at the end where it's like, this doesn't represent all of Cuba. It doesn't represent all of Cuban Americans. It's like, yeah, the movie's already over, motherfucker. So I mean, that kind of sucks, right? Because like you already, especially in 1983, you only have so much representation for Cuban Americans, and like this is what you get. Kind of rough, and you got to kind of be like, hey, Oliver, why'd you do that? But at the same time, from like coming from a privileged place and a bias of just like I want entertainment, which is just me being honest, and I think more people should be honest about like where they stand when they watch movies, and they're not in those shoes, so they're not thinking about that. I wasn't thinking about that when I first saw Scarface. I just wanted to see some crazy shit.
Well, I've never approached gangster films with like this movie is representative of every single person in that.
Yeah.
I've never thought like Goodfellas represents Italians. I've never thought, fucking Eastern Promises represents the Russians. That's just not true. It's a very small part of that demographic. It does exist. This Cuban gangsters, Russian gangsters, Italian gangsters, they do exist. It's not like that's made up, but it's not everybody. And I think everyone knows that. So I don't really think we need to keep like that. We don't need the disclaimer. Like I understood that from the get-go. Like, yeah, this doesn't represent every Cuban on earth. I get that. And if you don't get that, that's on you, frankly. Like you should know that.
Yeah. I'm with you. Yeah, while it sucks to have a lack of representation, this be what it is. Now, 40 years later, it's kind of like, all right, like like you said, this doesn't represent everybody that happens to be Cuban. It's just not. It's just not true.
Yeah, for that matter, neither did like Ricky Ricardo. He didn't represent Cubans either. Yes. Like that's not how it works.
Exactly. Yeah, I totally agree. It's just like, yeah, I mean, yeah. Sometimes I'm like, fuck off, it's a movie. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
and this still goes on, right? This still, it will never stop. I think there's like very interesting discourse with Killers of the Flower Moon. Like, it's a good example of a modern movie that there's people who are always going to raise their eyebrow, always, and we need those people. We need divisiveness. We need to be able to talk about movies. That's one of my favorite things about Killers of the Flower Moon is like, if you've seen it, you got some stuff to say. There's a lot of motherfucking movie in that thing. And so you're going to have something to say about it. And I love that. I love that you can have an hour, 2 hour long discussion with one person about a movie. So cool. Like, that's one of my favorite things about Scorsese is he makes you think. And I think Scarface is kind of in the other boat where it's like, look, man, like, this movie's bullshit. Like, I mean, look at it. Look how ridiculous it is. There's a fucking a mound. It honestly looks like just like a snowman of cocaine on Tony Montana's desk. This movie's going for absurd, over the top, ridiculous shit.
Snowman of cocaine.
Yeah, I mean, doesn't it? It's like, it looks like a pile of snow.
It's outrageous. It's like, and the way he just kind of sticks his fucking head in it and just like takes a whiff. He'd be dead. Come on, let's no.
The amount of cocaine he does in that particular night, I mean, gone, just dead. No way.
Yeah, we're not watching this for like, this is a hyper ultra violent, frankly, like a giant shit on the American dream for the most part. Like, that's what this is. It's not supposed to be representative of the Cuban immigrant experience.
Okay. So that's a good. I like that. So that's a way for, before we like really get into like why we like Scarface. I do want to kind of bring that up. Like, this movie made $65 million on about a $30 million budget. People saw it, not a ton of people, but then, like you said, the VHS thing, the thing in the 80s where this movie picked up like quick, like boom, 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 like, oh my God, and became a big part of like rap culture and kind of, synonymous with the American dream, the world is yours. Like Nas, the rapper, one of the best rappers of the 90s, has the whole "whose world is this? The world is yours." Like that whole saying, and like just kind of the lifestyle of like, I trust myself, fuck everybody else. Like, this is, I'm taking over. That whole idea of Tony Montana exploded. And there was a huge amount of backlash from so many people about how violent this movie was. And a lot of like big popular, one of my favorite writers, probably my favorite writer to ever live, Kurt Vonnegut, hated this movie because of the violence. And there was a lot of people like him, writers, creatives, people in that world who were like, why does a movie need to be this violent? What's the point? Like, why do we have to show this to like kids are seeing this, And I just, I know you had this discussion before on another podcast in a slightly different tone, but I don't know, like, where's your head at with Scarface? Obviously now, 40 years later, we're completely desensitized, but try to put yourself in that time and place. Like, where do you think you'd stand in this conversation?
I don't think my thoughts would change much. I'm all about personal accountability when it comes to what people, like what parents show their kids, what they allow their kids to watch, what you show at the film, what you show at the movies. Like, it's up to you to vet a film you're going to go see. And if you decide like, oh, that's not for me, then don't go. So if you find out, oh, this movie Scarface is insanely violent and I don't like violence, maybe just don't go see that. Maybe go see Trading Places. So that's how I feel. I still feel that. I think, a year later, like the Terminator comes out and that's a huge hit. And I would say that's just as violent.
Yeah. Yeah, probably.
So to me, it's just, it's personal. I have no problem with violence in movies. And if you do, that's on you. I'm sorry you've got such sensitive sensibilities, but that's your problem. That's not society's problem. We don't have to accommodate you. You have to just separate yourself from the art you can't stand.
Yeah. I mean, pretty much wholeheartedly with you. I don't, of course I'm not, I don't know. It's so hard. And I think you understand this. It's so hard to put my mind in a place where I wouldn't watch something because of blank, because of, oh, it's just too scary. Oh, it's just too violent. Oh, there's too much cursing. Oh, there's too much of this. I can't wrap my head around it. Like, I understand people are people and they have their things, and like, it's so hard for me to like to I understand's not the right word. It's hard for me to relate. It's like that's nowhere in my body. Like, no, I have no bone in my body that's like deflect something because of violence or whatever. I just love movies. I adore them. I think they're fucking awesome. And you know, the violence stuff is like, especially in this movie, is just fucking ridiculous. So like, it almost makes me. I'm not like, oh man, like freaked out. I'm more just like, oh, this is crazy. Like this is beyond anything I can imagine.
Well, a big thing, like for me, the biggest thing about it is that I am able to separate fact and fiction. I know
Yeah,
this isn't
yeah.
real. I know Al Pacino's still alive. Like it's not. It doesn't mean anything to me. You know, I'm not watching a documentary about like civilians being gunned down in a war zone. That's way different. That is like I don't want to see that. But
Mm,
this is fake. It's
yeah,
entertainment.
yeah. That's definitely what I meant. Yeah, I mean, yeah, I own some stuff, some rough stuff, some docs that are, yeah, you don't want to like, just share with everybody, like, oh, let's sit down and watch, that's yeah, I agree, it's totally different. But yeah, when we're talking about, these Hollywood, these blockbuster, these fucking huge actors and De Palma, Stone, like, I'm not going into it like, here comes a history lesson. It's that ain't it. This ain't it. This is just a bullshit movie that says it's in Miami, but it was actually filmed in Los Angeles. uh,
Yeah, that's how I've always viewed film is, I'm here to be entertained regardless of, whatever they want to try to do to entertain me, whether they want to shoot up a bunch of gangsters or rip a person's head open or have a super steamy sex scene that may or may not be as simulated as they say. It's entirely up to you to, entertain me. So do your worst.
yeah. Let's fucking ride. Yeah, and I do think a lot of that is like why it wasn't up for any Oscars. Like, I think the Academy is just like, nah, that's like below our, like what
Because
we're
like
about.
a decade prior, A Clockwork Orange got nominated for a bunch of stuff. So where's the line?
Yeah, isn't that weird?
Yeah.
Clockwork is one of the most fascinating Best Picture nominated movies ever. Like, really? I think in the '70s the whole board was just different than any other decade. It just doesn't make a whole lot of sense that movie was nominated. It's so fucked up, so fucked up. Very well done, and I do love it, but God, it's disgusting at times.
Well, it's always whenever I hear like the argument, like, oh, that's too much for the Academy, I've always got Clockwork in the back pocket to be like, well, not necessarily so. What about this? So like it's a good
Yeah,
trump card.
yeah, because that's 12 years prior to Scarface, right? So I don't know. There's got to be something. There's got to be a reason. It might have to do with the lack of success as well. Like, I think some people were underwhelmed by it. It's almost 3 hours, and I think it's just one of those things that took a few years to really catch on. And now here we are. I mean, this movie's huge, huge deal.
Which is odd because you've got like, established Oscar recognition for Pacino. You've got, De Palma's success with Carrie. Stone's about to hit it huge with Platoon 3 years later. So like all the major players for Oscar recognition are there. It
Oh
just
yeah,
wasn't, I guess, the storm didn't quite land.
yeah, and it's got young Michelle Pfeiffer coming onto the scene, like someone who it's been in a bunch of amazing movies. So yeah, I don't know. It's how bizarre, man. F. Murray Abraham a year before Amadeus. Come on, so
Yeah.
weird. It's so weird. There's got I love thinking about it, like we're like, man, no Oscar nominations for Scarface is fucking bonkers. Here's the real quick before we get into Scarface like properly and just gush about it. The Best Picture nominees for that year, 1983. The winner is Terms of Endearment, typical Oscar type movie. The Big Chill, it's fine. The Dresser, The Right Stuff, and Tender Mercies. This is the most Oscar-y group of all time. Like, mix it up. Get Scarface in there. That would completely change this group, its identity, and I would love that. You know, I think that'd be cool.
I've only seen of that bunch of Terms of Endearment. I thought that was hokey and like honestly more unbelievable than Scarface. The way people act in that movie is so fucking over the top cruel. Like Scarface makes way more sense to me in terms of how somebody would react to a betrayal.
That's fair. That's fair. You know, this is the year. You'll remember like what the story is behind this movie, but one of my favorite movies from 1983, Silkwood.
Oh,
you remember? I've seen that, and I don't think you have, but you had it and let me borrow it or something.
Yeah, we were gonna do. That was prep for something. I don't remember what it was. I had gotten it in Netflix through the mail, and you were gonna watch it first, and then by the time I was gonna get it back, we were already about to record, so there was no point. And I don't remember what the movie was. I don't remember what it was for.
I don't think we ever did anything from 1983.
Maybe it was who? All right, who made Silkwood? Let's go there. Silkwood.
Oh yeah, that's a good call. I don't know. I know Meryl Streep and Cher were both nominated.
That was a Mike Nichols movie.
Oh. Okay, we do a Mike Nichols movie?
I don't think this is weird. I don't remember.
I'm tripping out.
Silkwood. Yeah, we never touched 83.
Damn it.
I got nothing. I don't know
Meryl
why.
Meryl Streep? No.
We had much different prep for Kramer versus Kramer. We never did Sophie's Choice.
And she didn't win. She lost to Shirley MacLaine. Fuck. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't remember why we did what was it Nora Ephron? Was that like some prep for
Oh, yes.
When Harry Met Sally.
Yes, there you go. That's it.
Boom. That was a Nora Ephron prep. That's what that was. Okay.
Okay. She wrote the screenplay and Mike Nichols directed. What a fucking sick team.
I'm gonna watch Silkwood one day. I really want to.
Okay. Yeah. Silkwood was fucking sick. It's one of those like movies that's right up my alley, like Paranoia. Meryl Streep's like, somebody listen to me. It's kind of like Norma Ray, but also like the China Syndrome somewhere in the middle. Good stuff. Return of the Jedi was fucking nominated for original score. My favorite of the original trilogy. I think yours as well. Trading Places was up for original song. Flashdance. Jesus.
The 80s every year is like there's a few movies that are like that's Oscar nominated, really? And yeah,
I'm just looking through like everything, and I'm like, this is just not great, not a great year. But yes, Nora Ephron was nominated for screenplay, so that had to be it.
That's the only thing that makes sense.
Fanny Alexander, the Ingmar Bergman classic that I haven't seen yet, was all over this Oscars. Anyway, I mean, like out of all these things we've listed, not one of them is anywhere near like what Scarface is, which would have been cool. I like when there's all kinds of movies at a ceremony. You know, I just think it can change things up.
Yeah, me too. It's like when you're a kid and you have to invite the whole class to your birthday party, and there's like the weird, like hyper aggressive, angry, like super violent kid, and I mean he's there, so you might as well give him a piece of cake.
Yeah, but
that's Scarface, really.
But they didn't. They didn't give him a piece of cake. He's like Milton. He's like Milton in Office Space. He didn't get any cake. They sent him down to the basement. Oh no.
Last time I did not receive a piece.
Yeah. God. It's another movie we've never done. Oh boy. That'd be next year, 25 years.
Yeah, dude, the way we're planning to do next year, it really just kind of opens you to do whatever you want. And I'm
Yeah.
super excited to see what the stuff that you want to do. It's gonna be fun.
Yeah, schizophrenic. Here we go. Everyone, everyone, buckle up. Yeah. Whatever. The whole Oscars thing is like so. I mean, the thing we talked about the thing forever. Yeah, that's their fault. Thief 1981 blowout. That's y'all's fault. You don't want to nominate it for 10 Oscars. Whatever. We do that for it, right? Like the people that are fans of it and that make it live on, watch it over and over, and talk about it, and share it with their friends. That means way more. So
Yeah.
so Scarface has that going for it, right? You just share your bros. You hang out with your dudes. You're like, oh yeah, we gotta watch Scarface. Come on. Oh, it's great. And Scarface does have some interesting scores. It's got the 8.3 on IMDb. It's ranked 106 all time on IMDb. I mean, that's a little high. It's a little high, but cool. Good for it. I mean think about it, man. They have it 106th all-time movie ever. Think about what's behind it, right? You think about what's 107 and beyond, and you're just like, cool, good for Scarface. IMDb thinks very highly of it. 79% Rotten Tomatoes, really, really odd, but a 93% audience score.
Damn.
I thought that was interesting. That very rarely happens, right? You have a lot of critically acclaimed movies that'll be 90 whatever, and the audience is like, fuck this thing. This made no sense. Give it a fit. And it's got like a 53. That'll happen a lot, but it is rare to see a 79% jump to a 93.
It always makes me laugh when the audience score is like considerably higher than the critic score. Not like by a couple points, but like a couple, 10, 15 points. It's like, we don't give a fuck what you have to say. We like what we like.
Yeah, so you like a proper swing either way. Like they're like, fuck you, this thing sucks, or fuck you, this is better than that. Yeah.
I love a disparity. I really do, between the two scores. It always either way, it's always, there's a story there.
Yeah, because right, it doesn't matter either way, so it's fun. It's more fun if it's off. 4.1 on Letterboxd. We'll get to Letterboxd later on with our final segment of the show. I'm super excited for that. But I do want to just open the floor, man. Let's do some categories for Scarface. I think the best place to start here is to talk about performance. There's one guy going fucking 190 miles an hour the entire time, and that's Al Pacino as Tony Montana. He is off his rocker. There's a lot of great performances, and I'm open to having a different favorite, but you got to admit, he wins this movie by a landslide.
He does. It's so good that I'm almost not bothered by the brown face. Like, it's so weird. Like when we did Viva Zapata, I was very much like, yeah, Brando should not be here. But in this case, I'm like, I don't know who else could have been Tony Montana.
Yeah, that's the thing, right? That's it's Al Pacino. The guy who played Michael Corleone. This guy's playing Tony Montana, this Cuban, guy who comes over in 1980 to take over the world, basically, is his idea. He wants something big. He wants bigger. And Pacino is so convincing, and he's so fucking aggressive and so like high strung, like he's straining all the time, like his veins are popping out. You're just like, I can't. You can certainly be like, oh, I wish someone else would have been cast for this role. Of course, his co-star Stephen Bauer is Cuban American, playing Manny, who's Cuban in the movie. So that's cool. But you're watching Pacino, and you're like you said, like who else? Not who else that's not Cuban American or Cuban at all could play this character. It's who could play Tony Montana. That's my question. Is like, I mean, who's in line next? Like, I really don't know. Like, Pacino had just got done with one of the most impressive runs of the decade in the 70s. Comes out guns a-blazing. And, I think Corleone is his most memorable and his most well-known character. But Scarface has got to be, like, right there.
Honestly, I think nowadays, I think Montana might eclipse Michael Corleone in terms of like his signature character. I think to a lot of people it is Tony Montana.
I think you might be right that more people. Okay, maybe the question is, you ask 100 people, 100 random people, be like, "What's the first movie you think about when you think about Al Pacino?" They might say Godfather, but if you say character, they're saying Tony Montana. Like, because
Okay.
they might not remember that he's Michael. They might remember like the Corleone family. They might not remember specifically Michael, but Tony Montana is like iconic, one of the most iconic names ever.
Yeah, I love that you really know nothing about this guy. Like from as soon as we meet him, he's bullshitting Border
Oh,
Patrol, and
and
just
he's good at it. He is
he
so
is.
good at it.
He's a fantastic liar. And even then, they're like, I don't buy this guy's bullshit for a second.
Yeah, yeah. It's like that line in Moneyball. There's a line that me and you both love when all the scouts are hanging out for the first time. And they're talking about different players, and he's like, it's it's like his dick has been in the room for 2 minutes before he even walks in the room. That's Tony Montana the entire movie. I mean, he talks about it. He's like, there's one thing that makes decisions: balls. What?
It is
What
like,
are you talking about?
imagine this guy in like any other line of business. Like, imagine this dude in like the corporate world. Like, that's how you get like Alec Baldwin and Glengarry Glen Ross.
Yeah, or McConaughey and Wolf of Wall Street. Yeah. Just a nightmare.
Yeah, anybody who lets their dick make all of their decisions, yeah, you're gonna become like king of the world, but not for a very long time. Like, it's not gonna last. You're gonna be cock of the walk for like a month, maybe.
Yeah, I love when Frank Lopez is like, "Hey man, the guys who last in this business are the ones who can lay low, stay loyal, and like stick to their work." And so Tony Montana's like, "Suck on this." Like, he's like, "No, like I'm no, like no way, am I gonna listen to that. I mean, I'm gonna buy a tiger." It's so cool. The scene where they walk down the hill in his like estate, and there's just a fucking tiger on a leash. It's stupid. It's just great. I love it.
It's so ridiculous. You can't fault the movie for like being misrepresentation, because who the fuck is being represented here?
Correct. This is the most like fugazi like fake guy. Like, it's just this idea. It's just a movie. He's a movie character like through and through.
True, and he's amazing. If I had to pick a second, I do love Stephen Bauer.
Excellent.
And not just because he's the
the
head of the cartel in Breaking Bad. Fucking Eladio Fuente. Anyway,
yeah.
I love him as this like I would love to know where the loyalty comes from. Like, why is he so loyal to Tony Montana? And just his arc happening in the background with Tony's sister is so tragic. And you're just the whole time you're thinking like, dude, why? Like, you know how this is going to end. You don't fuck with Tony's sister. You've seen people die for this. It's you just want to shout at him. But yeah, I love that, he's Tony's trigger man and his idea man and his, the only one who he really trusts. And Bauer just sells it. I love that.
Yeah, Bauer is excellent. Right. I think the first time I saw this, I hadn't seen Breaking Bad yet, right? Mm-hmm. And it had like just about to start, probably, because that started in 2008. We were both 13 years old. So I probably had seen Scarface right around when Breaking Bad was starting. And I remember being like, man, this guy is just like, he's so engaging. He's so charismatic. The slick back hair. He's like way better looking than Al Pacino. Like, way better looking. He's taller. He's like stronger. He's got the Al Pacino's everywhere he goes. He's the shortest motherfucker in his little group, which is a thing I actually love about Pacino. Is kind of that like small man mentality. That's like what makes him almost scarier. Is like when he pushes someone, he's like pushing upward. He's like pushing at them, up at their chest. It's like such a this guy's a fucking bulldog. But Stephen Bauer has this kind of like suave, like smooth thing about him. And right from the get go, man, when they're under the highway in those tents, I remember when I was a kid and I didn't know who he was. When he does the banga, like screams at him, I was like, "Who's that guy?" Like that guy's he is really really engaging right from the get go. Yeah, and very tragic. I do one of my like picking nits with the movie is the build up to him and Gina's relationship. Fuck it, add some more time or take away from something else. I think I could have used a little more point A to point B. How did they get to marriage? Type thing. I wish I could have seen, for what it's worth, like I think like a proper like date slash like go home like love making type scene would have been huge for those two characters to like really understand like where they're coming from, because there is like a gap when Tony's like in the bathtub and he's doing that whole like dickhead thing to Michelle Pfeiffer. He's doing that whole bit, and then Manny leaves, and then there's like the New York stuff where he fucks over Sosa. There's like this gap where we don't see Manny at all, and then out of nowhere, the next time we see him, he opens the door, and then you see Gina, and like that's one of the most tragic part of the whole movie. I do wish there was like I think Manny deserves it, and I think Gina deserves it because I think they're both great. That's Mary Elizabeth. What's her name? It's a long last name. Gina. Yes, they're both great, and like I believe their relationship. Like I totally believe it. I just wish I had like one more like point A to point B. How do we get to marriage type thing and like living together? I wish I would have got that.
Yeah, but we're seeing this all unfold through Tony's eyes.
We are. That's a POV thing. Yeah.
I think it would be a little disjointed if all of a sudden we're with like the movie's now being told through Manny for a little bit.
See, maybe that's my frustration. Maybe I think more of the movie should have been through Manny's perspective, like a double.
It's an interesting way to see like what is Scarface through the eyes of Manny. That'd be an interesting story.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, Manny's a fascinating character. He's a fucking dog, man. He's a dirty dog at the beginning of the movie when they're at the Sunray Hotel, and he's just trying to just basically pull that girl's fucking bikini bottom like off, and she's like, "Get out of here," and he's like, stupido. He just does that. Stephen Bauer's so good at that, so being kind of like the suave, but also like I'm being a dick, I'm going for what I want. And then Gina kind of changes him. It's honestly beautiful.
Yeah, the whole beginning part of like with Manny hitting on all the chicks, like that's what got him Eladio, straight up. Like that that version of Manny becomes a cartel don, and he's Eladio. Like it makes sense.
Oh yeah, I totally agree, man. The scene where he does the tongue thing is fucking hilarious. It's such a good.
Look at this. He's gonna stick his tongue out of that.
Yeah, you want to see something funny? Yeah, it's such a good bit. That's a great scene because that's when he does the whole first comes the power, then comes the money, then comes the women. You have to do things in order to get what you want. And that's why he was the top dog. Yeah,
it's crazy how well thought out Tony's like 5-point plan was. Like as soon as he got to the States, it was like, all right, now we're gonna do this, we're gonna do this, we're gonna do this, and then we're gonna be the most powerful sons of bitches in Miami. It's like and there was no moment where he's like second guessing himself or like this might not work out. He's like, no, I just gotta fuck over that guy. Like he knew exactly what he was doing. This
is it. Yeah. Last person for this category for performance is we got to mention Michelle Pfeiffer as Avira. Right when she comes on, you're like, okay, like the music that drops. Tony is immediately like, that's also now in my plan. That has become part of my 5-year plan. Is that like I'm gonna make her my wife? That's gonna happen. Like I don't really care who's in my way. This Frank Lopez guy, I'm just gonna use him until I get what I want.
Yeah, and her, the whole mob wife thing has always never made any fucking sense to me. Like, how do you know what your life's gonna be like? Being around these people. Like, so why are you surprised when they become assholes? Like, who they are. She knew who Tony Montana was, and then she will let this happen. So I don't have a lot of sympathy because it's like you did this to yourself. You knew what you were getting into.
Yeah, straight up, man. I don't get it. But Michelle Pfeiffer does a great job.
She does do a great job. She is fantastic. I love at first her she's just like, fuck you to Tony with her, like, Even if I were starved and begging for it on a desert island, you'd be the last thing I'd ever fuck.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ.
She's great. Just the way she dances, it is so 80s. The like thing with the arms. Right from the, she's on fire. You're just like, God, this movie's 80s to the max. I love it. Yeah, she's excellent. I think she was 25 when this movie came out. Just hats off to her. Like, well done. Just really, really grade A performance. Last guy I want to mention, because I know this is one of your guys. One of our guys. This is the guy who plays fucking Hector Salamanca, Mark Margolis. Rest in peace. He plays Shadow in the movie, and the couple of scenes he's in, oof, he is something to behold. He is menacing. The like tracksuit zipped all the way up in Bolivia, great touch.
I wasn't sure it was him at first because I'd never seen him that young before. I was thinking like, is that no way? And then it was like, it's cool. Like there's more than a few Breaking Bad people in this movie.
It shows Vincent Gilligan's knowledge and passion for gangster crime, all these kinds of movies, because he just riddles his show Breaking Bad with all kinds of stuff. It's great.
Playing through that character, we do get to see a little bit of Tony Montana's humanity and the line he doesn't want to cross, which is interesting.
Yeah.
I always love when like these really despicable, evil, sociopathic sons of bitches do have a line and like how far they won't go. It's always fascinating to see that.
Yeah, the code. I love the code. Like the unwritten law. What is it? I mean, he blasts Shadow's fucking head off because of that.
Yeah. No women, no kids.
Yeah, like straight up. I told you. You want to fuck with me? Yeah, it's so. The New York City scene is excellent. Yeah, I mean, yeah, I think we're on the same page. This cast is awesome. Pacino, yeah, he's just carrying this motherfucker. It's again all from his point of view. Tony Montana's. I want to say personally the music stuff because I one of like my favorite scenes goes with my music stuff. So I want to get some quotes out there, man. Like what we've already said some, but this movie's got like 100 quotable, moments. So let's hear some stuff.
This movie has the most ridiculous, over the top, unbelievable. I can't believe somebody wrote this line of dialogue I've ever heard in a movie. And it is towards the beginning. It's when Tony Montana is talking about like Miami, and he says, "This is paradise. I'm telling you, this town is like a great big pussy just waiting to get fucked." What the hell? I mean, on some level, it like that makes perfect sense, but also like, who the fuck thinks like that?
Yeah, one great big pussy. It's just like, that's such an incredible line. Yeah, so I love that. I love that you picked that one because I had that one written down as well. It's great. I mean, yeah, he's got some of those. He's got some of the, you know what capitalism is? Getting fucked. It's just like, what? This guy's insane. Who put this thing together? Me. That's who. Who do I trust? Me. The only thing that gives orders is balls. Like that stuff's great. I take your bullets. I take your bullets.
That is so fucking like, what the fuck? I love Sosa and his just like straight, like the most honest, like, look, we're gonna do business, but listen to me. I only tell you once. Don't fuck me, Tony. Don't you ever try to fuck me. I love that. Because the second he says that, you as the audience are like, he's gonna fuck this guy. Like he's 100% gonna fuck Sosa.
Yeah. You know that, you know that from the get-go. You know that from when he quits his little like dishwashing job. Like, like this guy doesn't give a fuck about anything but the next step, the next thing. I don't care who I fuck over. I don't care who's in the way. Like I'll just it cost him his life. This like thing that he could have figured out. Of course the whole like kid thing. They could have figured out something, but he was like so fucking. I mean, first off, he was coked out. He does coke right before they start driving in New York. He's so like, oh, like no, I'm gonna be in control. I'm gonna call the shots. That it cost him his life. He could have done this thing for a long, long time with the amount of money he had. and the resources he had. He could have, Lopez says, like, hey man, ride low, be low key about it. But he refuses.
One of my other favorites is when he realizes like Frank's the guy who put the hit out on him, and he's got him on his knee. Frank's begging for his life, and Tony's like, "I'm not gonna kill you." And Frank's like, "Oh, thank you." And he just goes, "Manny, shoot that piece of shit for me," just without hesitation. Like, Jesus Christ, cold motherfucker, man.
Yeah.
Shit. One of my yeah.
That scene is unreal. Bernstein's just like, holy shit.
Robert Loggia, what a character that guy was. He's put a little thin mustache on him. Suddenly he's a Hispanic gangster. Okay, fine.
Yeah. You want to play Italian, Puerto Rican, Cuban? Like, take your pick.
You want my full thoughts on that? You can check out my thesis at Texas State University. I got to use Scarface a lot, but yeah, I love just, that whole scene with Frank's like, yeah, it was me. Like, sorry. Like, what sorry? Like, dude, you're dead. You should know this. Like, he tries to get out of it.
Like, long gone.
I love Tony's, like, it's such a pointed, like, little, doesn't need to be said so, like, Cubano, but he's like, you know what I'm talking about, you fucking roach. So, like, oh, come on, man. It's a cool line, but like, come on.
Yeah.
A little respect.
Yeah, it just makes me laugh at this point. I'm laughing with this movie a lot of the time. I'm just like, this is unbelievable.
Crazy. I love so much Tony's check out the bad guy speech at the restaurant when he has like the fight with Michelle Pfeiffer and he's like leaving and he goes, "What are you looking at? Y'all a bunch of fucking assholes. You know why? You don't have the guts to be what you want to be. You need people like me. You need people like me so you can point your fucking fingers and say, that's the bad guy. So what does that make you? Good? You're not good. You just know how to hide, how to lie. Me, I don't have that problem. I always tell the truth, even when I lie. So say goodnight to the bad guy. Last time you're going to see a bad guy like this again, let me tell you. Come on, make way for the bad guy. Better get out of his way." A lot of it's just drunken ravings, but there's some good truths in there about the way he lives his life. Like, when you're aware that you're the bad guy, when you know you're the villain of your own story, it's like, what are you capable of?
Yeah. No, it's one of my favorite, like, gangster whatever tropes. The anti-hero, right, is the guy who's self-aware that he, in the eyes of society, is this monster. So another one of my favorite lines is when he says to Manny, he's like, "It's those guys, Manny. It's the fucking bankers, the politicians. They're the ones that want to make coke illegal so they can make the fucking money and they can get the fucking votes. They're fighting the bad guys. They're the bad guys. They fuck anything and anyone. Fuck fucking bankers." And then Michelle Pfeiffer's like, "Can you stop saying fuck all the time?" Because he curses like a fucking sailor, same way that you and I do. and I just think it's hilarious because there's truth in that, in this statement, there's truth. There's like harsh realities here. And he knows it. Like, he's a smart guy. You don't get to where he is, so fast without having, some kind of wits about you. So there are things that he's very, very, very aware of. And that's the best, man. The anti-hero, the mind of the anti-hero is like one of my favorite things that you can explore in movies, stories.
Yeah, and we see, that's kind of like the go-to protagonist of gangster flicks, is you can't have, it's hard to sympathize with these guys because they're such brutal monsters. So you got to just make them as interesting as possible. You're not rooting for them. If you are in a way, like, your Henry Hills, your Tony Sopranos, your Vito Corleones, but you also are like, they're going to fail. They're going to come down. You're just waiting for it. And you just want to know how it's going to happen. Who's going to be the guy who sells them up the river?
Yeah.
I love gangster films, man. I love them because
I do too.
They're all pretty similar, but they all have that.
Oh yeah, yeah, and I think yeah, if you're not into it, the rags to riches to death, or rise to fall to redemption, like those arcs, if you're not into them, it's so like I get it, it's okay. They are redundant, but God, do I love a good arc like that. I love that you point out The Sopranos because I think when you have the amount of time that The Sopranos does and that good of a cast and that good of an actor playing your main dude in James Gandolfini, you have so much time to make him interesting. So much time. And I've always said this. I think James Gandolfini plays the best gangster ever because of the amount of time he had and the relatability we get with him. Going to the sessions, going to therapy, having the kids, having the wife. It's not just like a scene here or there. It's seasons, of this shit. And he's so good. He was so good as that like prototype.
I remember reading or watching an interview or something, a story about uh, the mob was aware of The Sopranos. They were watching it. And when the pilot came out, some random gangster, some capo or some don called James Gandolfini and just told him one piece of advice. A don never wears shorts. And I don't think Tony Soprano wore shorts for the rest of the show.
Yes. I love that. So fucking cool. Don never wears shorts. That's great. What a great line. I wonder how we got James Gandolfini's number. That's a cool story.
It's the mob.
They just find it.
They had his address too. He probably knew where his kids go to school. That's just how they operate.
Oh my God. Frightening. Yeah, man. Yeah. I mean, there's, we've now mentioned some of the deeper, like more in-depth quotes, but again, there are some ridiculous ones too. So it's got the best of both worlds. This is another thing I love about gangster movies is the one-liners, the in-depth stuff about what's really going on. And, that's one thing that's great about Scarface.
Yeah, we didn't really touch on, say hello to my little friend. It's become so overplayed now. It's kind of lost punch, but it's a neat moment where he's just, going up against an army of Sosa's assassins with a fucking machine gun and just does not give a shit.
Yeah, did you catch the line? This is another. I love the scene when he's in the like the bathtub. I don't even know what you call that. That thing is fucking massive. Like that's like a pool for most people. And there's like a couch and a bed. Like it's in the middle of like a bedroom. And there's like a TV and like a fucking tray of cigars. Did you catch? And I wonder if like maybe I'm missing something, or if like there's something on the nose that I don't know, or if it's just supposed to be funny. He's watching TV and there's flamingos on the TV. And he says, Manny, look at the pelican fly. Come on, pelican. Did you catch that?
Yeah, I did.
Is that just supposed to be like this guy's an idiot?
Well, I think, could be some, yeah, he's got some street smarts, but I mean, if he's, maybe doesn't know a lot of birds, he could be an idiot.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think there's that. I think a lot of what he does is like, to back up an inferiority complex.
Yeah, me too.
So there could be some of that.
I mean, also like coked out. Yeah,
that too. Also, if you're blitzed out of your mind on blow, you're gonna look at a flamingo and just say the first bird that pops into your head.
Cocaine's kind of a bitch. Yeah. A great line from Bernstein is "Every day above ground is a good day." That's like 10 minutes before he has the assassination attempt on his life in the Babylon Club. Unbelievable stretch of the movie.
Yeah. Oh, I love Tony just walking into Frank's office, like, shot, his jacket's over his like wound. He's
Dude,
got a gun.
Iconic. Yeah.
Glaring at Frank, loaded gun, just wants to hear, like, he just wants Frank to admit that he did it. It's yeah. Tony Montana.
All right, fuck it. Let's go into that. So like that's probably my favorite stretch of the movie, probably. Is so my favorite music moment of the movie. While there is a great score, you're gonna love this. My favorite, always been since I was a kid, my favorite Frank Sinatra song is Strangers in the Night. And when that song plays at the Babylon, you're like, what in the world? Like, and this From Venezuela, Octavio, and this like what is going on? This is the most Brian De Palma like what the fuck is going on? Like what is this? And this thing comes out and is like moving its hips and has like the big belly or whatever. And Tony's just got a cigar and he's just staring like what? And he's at the Babylon. We just had that moment again with Bernstein and Lopez where they're kind of like it's foreshadowing, like hey, let's like Bernstein's like, hey, me and you, man, like maybe we can cut some deals here. He's getting Bernstein's like, I want a piece of this fucking pie. That is Tony Montana, and Tony's just kind of like, yeah, I don't really like need you, like I don't really. It's not like totally necessary. They have an interesting conversation. Everyone leaves, and he's by himself after he catches Gina in the restroom with that guy. That's when Manny takes her home. You have the great bits in the car between Manny and Gina, where Gina's like, I see the way you look at me. And you keep panning over to Pacino, Tony Montana, in that booth. And then you have the assassination attempt. Like, just unbelievable. Like, so good. The tension, the oddness of it because of that Frank Sinatra song, because these two guys that have their guns under the table are both like, like, what's going on? Like, the lights just went down. This is not going according to plan. Moments later, they're like, fuck it. We just got to do this thing. And it doesn't work because Tony's a fucking badass and gets out of their lives somehow. It's just an unbelievable stretch. And it's followed up by an even better stretch when he goes to call Manny, and Manny's got this like gorgeous lady, naked lady on top of him. And he's like, whoa, like, what's up? Like, slow down. Like, what's up? And he's like, meet me at Lopez, the auto car, the place where he sells the cars. And he's like, meet me, and like Manny's like, okay. And he's like, well, you haven't left yet because you're still on the phone. like Tony has that like, come on, Manny, like let's like get on your horse. So Manny hangs up, goes over there, takes care of business. It's like one of the most like loyal scenes from Manny. Manny kills this guy for him, right? And then you have, this badass dialogue between Tony, Frank, Bernstein. It's just unreal, right? And then the last guy, I think his name's Manny. Or no, that's what's the other guy's name? The chubby guy that they get to work for him. I can't remember his name.
I don't remember. I know exactly who you're talking about, but I
don't
remember.
You know what I'm talking about? They look at him and he's like,
Yeah. Hey, you want a job? Call me tomorrow.
And then I think it's Chi-Chi. He's like, hey, you got a job, man. Like it's such an unbelievable gangster stretch. Like I'm totally obsessed with that. Like 15 minutes, and it kicks off. Really, for me, like when it kicks in a high gear is when Gina leaves with Manny, and we have that real weird needle drop of Strangers in the Night, completely out of place from the rest of the score, completely out of place with the rest of the soundtrack, especially. You got a bunch of like, she's on fire, like 80s dancing music, and then you have this like gorgeous Sinatra song play with this odd Octavio guy from Venezuela performing. It's beyond me.
It's almost like, it's a mockery of Sinatra almost. It's like,
yeah.
It's like you're shooting the old world gangster film in the foot right now.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's
crazy, right? It's such a.
And if anybody was going to do that, it would be De Palma and Oliver Stone.
Yeah. Crazy, dude. It is a big balls move. And I don't know. There's just something about this time when I watched it. I was just like, I'm always glued to the screen when I'm watching Scarface, but I was especially like, man, this is unbelievable. Just the filmmaking, the technique, the performances, the weird choices, which I always respect. I always love in a movie. He's like, let's take the left turn every now and again.
I do love this, like the chemistry between Gina and Manny in the car.
Dude, those cutaways are.
When Manny's just trying to be like, hey, he loves you. That's why he does this. And she's like, well, why don't we go? Why don't you take me out? And if I'm quick, Manny switches gears to like, are you out of your fucking mind?
Yeah.
No, absolutely not.
Yeah. I see the way you look at me. Yeah. She's just like, come on. And he's like, oh, God damn it. That's it's like John Travolta in Pulp Fiction. Like, have you drink? Go home. It's one of those things.
This is a test of loyalty because being loyal is very important.
Yeah, those cutaways. You're right. Those cutaways are amazing, man. They're brilliant, and it's like it's a great way to kind of counter here's what the shit Tony's dealing with, and here's something beautiful that might be blossoming.
How much do you think how much do you think Gina really did love Manny, or how much of it was a fuck you to her brother?
That's tough, right? She's so young, so young. I think they say she's 20.
Yeah.
During that club, the Babylon scene, which looks like a crazy, awesome club. I want to go there, but it's like, yeah, you're like this girl's 20. She's obviously defying her mother as well, which is such a tough scene, right? When he goes home, man, that's a tough scene. When he tries to go visit them after like 5 years, and she's like, get your fucking dirty money out of here. I wonder if it's defying her mother, fuck you to her brother, and just look at Manny, man. Manny's a gorgeous dude. Like he's a beautiful guy. He's got a way. He's got something about him, man. It's in the eyes, Chico.
That's true. Yeah, it's all that working together. It's the angst mixed with the fucking attraction. It's a perfect storm of
yeah.
Latin lust.
Yeah, the forbidden fruit, right? The forbidden fruit, like she knows she's not supposed to have it, and vice versa, and they're hiding it. I love when she says, "We got married yesterday. We were going to surprise you." Like, that is a dumbass surprise for Tony Montana.
Yeah.
Are you kidding me? Are you out of your goddamn mind? Oh man.
Manny was gonna be like, "Hey Tony, I got great news. I've been fucking your sister."
Yeah. While you were in New York and I was supposed to be watching over everything. Yeah, I married your sister.
They both know him. Why did they think that was gonna work?
I don't know. It's dumb. They should know. It's a dumb part of the plot where it's like, no, they wouldn't do that. They're not that stupid.
No, they would like very carefully, like, Tony, I just want to approach a hypothetical situation to you. Nothing has happened yet. Just tell me if you'd be okay with this.
Yeah. Yeah, at least have a conversation. Like, so what if I started dating your sister for real? Like, I'm not doing it. I'm asking for a friend. You got to do all that. You got to butter him up. This is Tony Montana here. Get some coke in his system. I don't know. Jesus. Like, did you not think you're gonna die? Like, I mean, immediately. So
yeah, it wasn't even. It was just like she was in his house. There wasn't even like he didn't even see them together. It was just she was in the balcony and
like naked and like has like underwear on and like a night like robe thing with like no bra. Like, you guys clearly just banged. You have like a towel on, Manny. Like, you guys clearly are up to no good as far as I can see. Yeah. It's brutal. It's brutal stuff, man. Some brutal shit happens when he goes to his house and to his mom's house. It's just like sad as fuck. It's just really sad.
Well, it's a look behind the painted veil. Like, Tony Montana has built this like crazy, elaborate, super, powerful life for himself. But behind that, he's a lonely immigrant with a mother and sister who despise him, and he really doesn't have anything. Who are you if you do not have the respect of your family?
Yeah,
especially in that kind of culture.
God, man. Yeah, maybe we're not giving the movie enough credit for how smart it is. I don't know. I feel like maybe it's a little smarter than maybe at least I'm giving it credit for. I don't know.
Yeah, it's got something to say, 100%. Like, this is not just a look at all this blood kind of movie. This is it's a critique on the American dream. It's a critique on, the Cuban immigration situation with Castro. It's a critique on family dynamics. Like, there's a lot going on here. You just have to look for it.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think I've seen it so many times that I thought that when I was a teenager, I thought that I was like, this movie's got, some girth, some depth to it. And now I'm like, I don't want anybody to like hurt me. This is my little thing that like I just want to love and have fun with and like not feel like a douchebag. So just leave me alone.
I mean, you've gone to bat heavy for like Fight Club. Like,
oh yeah, I love Fight Club, right? Yeah, that's another tough one. It's like, leave me alone.
It's in there. If you can back up your claims, which you very easily can with these movies, then you've got something to say, and that's value. That's valid.
Yeah. Yeah. Fuck it, man. So I guess to you, I know you love the Sinatra needle drop, but like, what's your favorite part of the, I think it's Morador, Moroder. I don't know his name. The guy who does the score. It's fucking sick. Giorgio something. I don't know how to pronounce the last name.
Sounded a bit. I thought it was Vangelis. Like the music sounded like Vangelis. It reminded me of Blade Runner.
Oh yeah, yeah.
But yeah, the opening credits is very much like, sit back and watch this crazy ass tale unfold. It's got an ominous vibe to it. I love the score.
Yeah.
The pulsing, it's like the pulsing vein in Tony's forehead is like making that beat. I love that, but for me, it goes to Push It to the Limit.
Oh, dude, yeah, classic.
Fucking perfect 80s montage song, making that money. Tony's on top.
Yeah.
Push it to the fucking limit. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, the money counter. Oh, like da, 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 da. And like him, like Tony, Montana Realty, Montana banking. He's got all these buildings, and he's got his tiger, he's got this crazy house with like 15 different pools. He's made it.
I love how, we do get some scenes with the cops, but like so little with the cops. Like no one's fucking watching this guy at all.
Yeah, it's all right there, right? He's doing a lot of illegal things.
He guns down a guy in a crowded street at the beginning of the movie, like on a fucking boardwalk,
dude,
and then drives away.
You want to talk about that scene?
Why not? Oh yeah, I've been holding that back.
That the Sunray Hotel. It's like 20 minutes in. It's like, hey, if you weren't, ready for some like violence, like here you go. Like here it is now. Let's get that out of the way so you can, from here on out, it's up. It's how would you say, like that's about as bad as it can get. The chainsaw right in front of Tony Montana's face. And that whole scene is just, it's just brilliant. So it's set up with Ev Murray Abraham's character, Omar, right? Omar's like, hey man, there's these Colombians. You guys go make this deal, get these 2 keys. Like maybe we can have something else for you, right? And so it's Tony and Angel, I think is his name. Those are the ones that go into the hotel. And it goes very poorly for Angel, like very, very poorly, as bad as it can possibly go. And then fucking Manny and Chi-Chi. I think Chi-Chi's the other guy in the passenger seat. They're just like bullshitting. And Tony says like, "Hey man, like 15 minutes go by, like like things aren't right." So to be fair, Manny's checking the watch. He's checking out the ladies that are walking down. But this scene to me, just the brutalness of it, the violence, the music, the lady with the fucking gun under the pillow, like all these like little different things, the production design of it, the hotel, like where it is right in front of the beach, it's just like money. Just money. It's one of those money shots, right? It's like, this is brilliant. The turning up the volume on the TV, getting this chainsaw fucking rolling. You're just like, damn, like I love this shit. I hate to be that guy, but like I love stuff like this. Like I love scenes like this. I love movies like this, and I love like what it does to characters like Tony Montana.
Oh yeah, from the get-go, it's there's a tension there of like, you got the stuff, it's nearby. You got the money, it's nearby. They're just kind of like feeling each other out. I love Tony's like, you want me to leave so we can start this over again?
So good. Great line.
And then just to break out the chainsaw like right at the beginning of the movie and just kind of test your audience. Like, are you in or out? And yeah, if you can handle a dude getting tortured with a goddamn chainsaw, you can take the rest of this movie.
Yeah. And then if you can handle guy with chainsaw flying out of a window, doing a full front flip, landing on his back, and limping out into the streets, and then Tony Montana saying, "Whoa, your turn, you die!" Boom, just blasting him right in the fucking face, and then you hear the sirens going. Manny's been shot. it's just like, oh, what a great 5-minute run.
That bit where he shoots him in the street reminded me so much of American Gangster.
Idris Elba. Yeah.
Yeah. I wonder if, I bet, I wonder if Ridley was pulling some inspiration there. Because
Yeah.
it's just, I mean, that's the ultimate power move to shoot someone in the head in front of like 40 witnesses and then just walk away. That is power. And even then, and like in that moment, Tony at least felt like he knew he was gonna, he knew he had power, or at least was going to have power. He believed in himself enough to do that right then and there.
Yeah. Yeah. And that is, I mean, that is like the make or break scene. I mean, that is, quite frankly, like Tony Montana, he knows who he is, like you said. This is one of those tests that if you succeed, the monster gets bigger. It just, the ego grows. The like after that, when Omar takes them to Frank's place, and Tony's like, "Yeah, that was fun. Yeah, I did that for fun. Like, oh, that was a good time. Like, I'll do that again." You're like, "Fuck this guy. You're a monster. You're a goddamn monster." And he's like, "Yeah, I mean, I lost one of my brothers because of it, but like, fuck yeah, like I fucking killed the rest of them. Like we got them." It's like we lost one man, but they lost four. It's like kind of that attitude. Like we walked away. We walked away victorious. It's just like such a,
but
God. This is a toxic environment.
Yeah. I wonder how much of that is like him, being honest, and how much of it is, his blustering for, covering some legitimate fears about this business. I mean, he was about to get bisected. If Manny had been just a couple minutes late, Tony would have been carved to death in that bathtub. So I'm sure there's a little bit of like, holy shit, I almost died fear there. And he's kind of, I think he's overcompensating a bit. That was awesome. I do it again. Yeah. What do you got? What do you got for me next?
Totally.
Yeah.
And from then on out, he's riding that like that adrenaline high the rest of the movie, the rest of his life. So
he's coped out of his head because he cannot cope with his real life. We see that when he's with his mother and his sister. That's his real life. He fucking hates that. He needs to create this illusion of life for him to exist in, so he doesn't go out of his fucking mind.
Yeah, that's great for us.
Right? Yeah.
As the audience, it creates a kick-ass movie. It's fucked up, but yeah, that stretch is amazing, man. And his reluctance to really trust Omar right away is like, man, he read that shit right. It's brilliant. I love the scene with Omar, Tony, and Sosa in Bolivia before Omar dies. It's such a great bit when Omar's like, "Sorry about this." Like this, right? Isn't this guy an idiot? I just want to talk business with you, and Tony's like, "No, we'll do it. 18 mil. Let's fucking go." He's just got his balls are just way bigger than Omar's. Like, quite frankly, he's just got he's not thinking. He's not thinking about that. He's like, "We'll get it done. We'll figure it out. Let's go."
Well, I love when Sosa walks away and Omar's like, "What the fuck are you doing?" Like, I'm here. I'm here to do business. You shut up. This is my thing. And Tony's like, no, he's going to do business with whoever he wants to do business with.
Yeah.
Like, and then to just jump, drop Omar's ass out of a helicopter is like, I recognized him. He was a, informant. So what are we going to do about that? And Tony's just like, I never fucking liked him.
Yeah. Yeah, he sucks.
And Frank's like, you let him do that? You believe that story? Are you an idiot? And it's like,
Yeah, that's a great bit. I like Frank. I like when Frank does the kind of like, yeah, so coming from him, like, of course he would, whatever justification he needs to murder somebody, like he's gonna do it. He lied to you, and Tony just trying to be like like, yeah, fuck that guy. I never trust him anyway. It's like, well, you didn't trust Sosa either. You don't trust Frank. I question whether you actually trust Manny. So, and Manny gives you reason at the end of the movie, but the whole time Tony's just from the get-go, he's just got these demons in his eyes. Like,
almost like he's got a death wish. He's just like waiting to see how far he can go before someone blows his brains out.
Yeah, it's like when you play Grand Theft Auto and you get up to 5 stars and you're like,
it's exactly like that. He's just like completely disregarding any consequences. He just like doubles down constantly on every bad decision he could do, to the point where he's, the new coke kingpin in Miami until that blows up in his face. That's fucking great. Yeah, he's playing GTA like it's
Yeah.
and just doing it till he gets wasted.
Yeah, fuck it. Yeah. Boom. Yeah. Wasted. And does it happen? Which I guess we could talk about that scene, the finale. Uh, Great stuff. I mean, the my favorite part. I mean, first off, there's like Sosa is like, I'm not like, no stone will be unturned. I'm sending 25 motherfuckers up there. He's gonna die. Smartest decision anyone makes in the entire movie, honestly. And who is Tony left with after he kills Manny? Like two fat guys. Like, where are his people, dude? Like, if you have all this land, all this space, and you have all this power, these drugs, and everything that is going on, like, why don't you have like a militia in your house? You have like two fat guys and Chi-Chi. That's it. There's like three dudes they have to get through. It's more than that, but there's like three main guys that they have to get through, and it's like 25 Bolivian dudes like just running rampant through that estate.
Well, I mean,
I don't know.
if you work for Tony Montana, you've been aware of this crazy ass decision making process he's known for. You know, Sosa does not care for the way this guy operates. You know, you can see shit's gonna go down. So I can understand maybe distancing yourself from that situation.
Yeah, I guess my question is, because I would distance myself and be like, this guy's fucking out of his mind. But also, Tony would be like, no, like, I pay you. I will either kill you right here as you stand, or you can fight for me. Like, where is where I'm so confused. Why does he not have his tiger at the front door? Why is the tiger not like mowing people down? Where is the tiger when the Bolivians run straight through the gate, through his estate? I don't know. I mean, I love it. It's a great scene. I love when he's like, he's like this, like he's a zombie in front of his fucking mountain of coke. And on the security cameras behind him, you can see them running in. It's such a great touch. Another great like De Palma shot. He has a lot of those in this where it's just like, oh yeah, I'm Brian De Palma, by the way. This isn't just the Tony Montana show. Like I'm a pretty good director.
Well, I wonder also, it could be like he's just shot his only friend to death for fucking his sister. He's snorted enough coke to kill a fucking small army. And he's not thinking straight. He could be just like, leave me, everyone out, I need to think, or something like that. And he's left with like a bare minimum, maybe he didn't think. He's not thinking about anything. He's not planning anything. He's not thinking, I've got to get ahead of Sosa. He's just like, Manny's dead and coke. That's all that's in his head. So I bet he's just not in the right headspace to deal with this.
Yeah. Which in this moment shows more than any other moment in the movie, like why Manny was so essential to their rise to fame, to stardom. It's the right hand man. It's the guy who has his head on a little bit straight, a little bit straighter. When
they should have flipped. Like, Manny has the headspace to be a kingpin. Tony has the headspace to be a top-notch enforcer. He should not be making command decisions. Manny has that power, has that strength. He has the right headspace for that. They got their wires crossed, and it killed both of them.
Yeah, straight up, right? Yeah, I mean, yeah. Had Manny been alive, he doesn't. I mean, I don't think he dies. Like, I just don't think. I think Manny is like, I'm gonna call in all the motherfucking troops, because he would know we fucked Sosa over, so we're fucked. So I think he would call everybody that they know, be at the estate. This is where you're fucking living now. Like, this is what's going down. We'll pay you overtime. Like, this is what we have to do to keep him alive. We're gonna fight off this Bolivian fucking militia, and we're gonna fight off Sosa. And when in turn, him and Tony would probably fly to Bolivia and find Sosa and murder him. So yeah, Manny's just a vital person in his life. It's Manny who, right from the very very beginning of the movie with Rebenga, the politician, Manny's the one who's right in front of him, like, what's up? Like, has like the plan to like, I'm gonna come at you from here, from the front, and then when he turns to run, there's fucking Tony, stabs him, bum bum bum, you're dead. It really is. You're right. It really should have been I'm the smarts. You're the brain and
Yeah.
brawn. And it's just now how it went down because one of them is too power hungry.
You can't, when you're thinking with your balls, you don't settle for second place.
No, you don't. You don't. Yeah, man. Oh, good shit though. God, the ending is great. It's on the nose, but when he gets killed from the back after being shot 45 times, he falls into his little fountain. The world is yours is right over it. I don't care. I don't care how on the nose it is. I think it's great.
A great shot's a great shot, whether it's obvious or you think about it later. A great shot's a great shot.
Yeah, it's an excellent shot. And there's that feeling you get of this buildup of who this guy is and creating this anti-hero, this Tony Montana, this icon. Seeing his like body just deceased floating in the water is like it's right up there with anybody, right? Any movie ever, any gangster movie ever, it's up there where you're just like, damn, he's gone. Like the guy I've been watching for 2 hours and 48 minutes is dead.
The way it unfolds, even like the assassin just walking down the stairs, you get the feeling that like this isn't even the biggest thing Sosa's dealt with like this month. Like this is a blip in his day to day. Like Tony Montana meant dick to Sosa.
Yeah, Sosa. Yes, I love when the news. There's that guy who's on the news when they go to Sosa's estate, which looks unreal. His estate looks like a fucking like it looks like the size of like a college, like a university. It's just this monstrous place. I love when they describe him on that whatever 60 minutes or whatever it is. They're like he is unlike any drug kingpin ever. And you get the sense that Sosa is this just wicked smart. Comes from like a really good background. Comes from like real money. Comes from a real education overseas. I think they say in England or something. Like he has this like polished, nature about him. Ah, man, that's a character I want more of.
Yeah, he's Gus Fring.
Yeah, honestly, it feels that way, doesn't it? It feels that way.
Vince Gilligan watched this movie a bunch of fucking times when he was writing Breaking Bad. Prove me wrong.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I was watching Tarantino, De Palma. Yeah. Just that's steady diet of those guys. So good. I'm trying to think. Is there any other scene that sticks out to you? Like
I love the attempted bust when those cops try to get Tony, and he's like, "Come on, really?" Like he's almost like he doesn't believe they're actually cops.
Yeah, it's hilarious.
Yeah, and then his lawyer's like, "Yeah, like he talks him out, like he gets him out." Yeah, I love that.
Yeah, he says he's like I'm gonna call my lawyer. He's the best lawyer in Miami. Next time you're working, next time I can't remember what he says. Like next time
you're gonna be working in Alaska.
Alaska, yeah. So he's like, so dress warm. That's another quote, another great quote. There's just this movie's full of them. Yeah, that's a great bit. Yeah, that's the banker that Manny is the one who like fucked that up, like set that up with Bomb or something like that. I can't remember his name. That's a good scene. It's like a really good gangster proper counting money, figuring shit out. How do we work this stuff? How do we watch some of this stuff? It's good shit.
Oh yeah. Yeah. For 3 hours, it really doesn't like it breezes by. It's so damn engaging that you're in.
Yeah, I'm really used to it at this point. It is odd that Scarface, because of the nature of it, because of the violence, because of the score, the soundtrack, like you said, just kind of bump, 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 bump. It really is weird that it's like not that much shorter than Godfather.
No,
and Godfather is this like this epic, like I don't think it's boring at all, but it has its like moments of slowness, of methodical filmmaking that Scarface does not have. Scarface is like, bop, 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 bop. It's like you're going 12 straight rounds with like Rocky Balboa himself. You're just like, oh Jesus, as the audience member.
Yeah, for sure. It's like, if Sonny Corleone did take over the family, this might be where it would have gone.
Yeah, which is like, yeah, it's my favorite Godfather character. So of course I would love Scarface. God, it's great. Yeah, it really is amazing what Pacino was able to do in such a short span of time, the type of bad, the type of good that he was able to like go through from, I guess you go from Godfather to like Serpico to Godfather 2, he gets even worse to something like this 10 years later. It's really amazing the like spectrum of good and bad that he kind of like goes back and forth on, he was so good at it. That version of Al Pacino is one of the best things we've ever seen. That 70s, 80s, just freak of nature, just yelling, screaming, the aggression. It's one of the best ever.
Yeah, it is interesting. Like, I wonder what happened because there's a very distinct change in him in the 90s. It's almost like it's like Gary Busey and his motorcycle accident. It's like something turned off in Pacino. I'm not saying he like got bad at it. I mean, he, Scent of a Woman, Heat, like Glenn Glary, Glenn Ross, great movies, great performances. But it does not seem like the same person.
Yeah, he definitely aged. It's noticeable. The phases of his career is noticeable. Yeah, you're right. He was in some awesome movies in the night. Some of my favorite movies of his career. Yeah. But there's no question about the way he changed from age, in his 30s during the 70s to his 50s in the 90s.
Yeah, I don't really know how to find that or like where I would, figure that out, short of like an expose documentary on the guy's whole life, which will probably happen eventually. He's that kind of, actor. But I don't know.
Yeah, he is. He's an icon. He's an absolute icon, and I think it's fitting to kind of finish this categories in this conversation with talking about him because he's why the movie works, man. He's why this thing. Of course, we mentioned all those other cast members. We mentioned De Palma and Oliver Stone, and he's the wheel. He's the wheel of why this thing moves and why we still watch it and remember it so well. So hats off to him, man. The guy's fucking 83 years old already. I'm just like, damn, man. Like, you just never know anymore, man. You never fucking know with these guys, like how long, when they're gonna go, like when it's over, when their career's done. And I'm not just talking about death. I'm talking like Michael Caine, retired. You just never know when they're gonna like actually hang it up, man. So I always want to appreciate him while we can.
Yeah, and I always like knowing that, there's always going to be, at least for a while, stuff you didn't see, stuff that slipped past you, stuff that you'll uncover and be able to have another amazing, Pacino or De Niro or, Christopher Walken or Jack Lemmon, like whoever you love, you'll find something that you missed.
Yeah. That's that goddamn right, man. That's why we do it, man. You just keep fucking going. You keep doing it, and that's clearly what we're doing here at Filmgazm. I want to go to our last segment. What's in the box?
What's in the fucking box? Give me the gun.
All right, I got 3 reviews here. Couple negative, 1 positive. There's 4.1 Letterboxd. It's generally good reviews. But there's those people out there. There always is. One of them is Alex Holmes. This is a review from earlier this year. 2 stars. I do not understand. This is so acclaimed and often heralded as one of the best films of all time. It's got an 8.3 on IMDb, a 4.1 here on Letterboxd. I was expecting it to be at least good, and what I got was just kind of a bad and hard to watch film. It's one huge soap opera. Yeah, can't argue that. It clearly is trying to be similar to The Godfather, but it has none of the character depth. I hated every single character. Al Pacino is just yelling the whole time. And Tony Montana is a complete asshole through and through. I couldn't really take it seriously. The whole rags to riches to dead thing has been done before, and it's done pretty poorly here. I didn't feel like the downfall had been building up for a while at all. It kind of all hinged on him not wanting to kill kids and a woman. It was kind of silly. And that final scene when Gina comes into the room trying to kill him, what the fuck was that? This is one giant overlong mess with some pretty good shots, but that's about it. I don't get it. It got on my nerves.
Damn. Well, tell me what you really thought. There's some valid criticisms in there.
That's why I picked it. Yeah.
But also, like, I think the downfall is pretty obvious from the get-go that like this guy's gonna fuck this up. Like that doesn't come out of nowhere.
Nope.
I do agree that the scene where Gina tries to kill him is weird.
Yeah.
It's awfully incestuous.
It's
and then,
very weird scene.
Yeah, and then she gets executed by the Bolivians.
Yeah, because they don't care. They don't care who the fuck is in the way. Yeah.
I don't know what Tony's plan was to handle that. Gina shooting him and also like trying to get him to like make a move on her. Well,
yeah, it's a choice. I'll say that.
Yeah. And yes, Tony is very much an asshole. If you think he's anything but an asshole, you are wrong.
Yeah, I don't know why that's like criticism. Like, I mean, yeah, it's very, like you said, we're very well aware as the audience that this guy's a dick and he's going to die. Like, there's not one time where I'm like, man, the credits are going to start rolling and he's going to be like happily ever after. There's no way.
No, he's not going to like, be visited by 3 ghosts and then like give his fortune away and go marry Michelle Pfeiffer and I don't know, start a fucking farm in Switzerland. Like, no, he's going to die in hellfire of bullets and he's going to deserve it.
Yeah. And that's that. So yeah, I picked it. I thought it was good. Yeah, I thought it was valid at times, in that little review, but also like, yeah, whatever. It's just like, it's not for you. Fine. It's all right. This is funny. This is from Elias. It's a review from last year. And I totally agree with it. I don't know why it's 2.5-star review, but it is. And they just say, Tony Montana has the exact same energy as Kanye West. Yes. Yes. 2 peas in a pod.
My God. Yeah, 100%. That's fantastic.
Yeah, I totally agree.
Jesus Christ. That's
Kanye. Yeah, Kanye is Tony Montana. Going along with more of the rap here, rap genre. This is the last one I have. Will Miniker. This is a positive review, 4.5 stars, written last year. It was great to revisit one of my favorite rap albums of all time in one movie. My favorite parts of this movie are whenever Tony complains about how under Castro, all the communists would tell him what to do, what to think, and there was no personal freedom. Whereas in America, it's more or less nothing but personal freedoms for violent criminal sociopaths like him. My other favorite part is at the end, when after Tony kills Manny, the only guys left in his crew are 2 or 3 enormously fat guys who get totally bushwhacked by a Bolivian hit squad. Bushwhacked. Good stuff.
I've always thought that like prominent gangsters employ fat people because they're effective meat shields. That's always what I figured.
Yeah. I think it's just become a trope at this point. Like big, tall, like meaty guys are security. Like that's just what they do.
Yeah. You gotta be intimidating if you're gonna defend the Don. You might not be quick on the draw, but it's gonna take a few bullets to put you down.
Yeah, exactly right. And Al Pacino's 5'6", something like that, 5'5". So he's a short dude. He needs some mountains with him.
Yeah, they did get fucking bushwhacked though. That's a good word.
Yeah, bushwhacked by a Bolivian hit squad. Love that. Love the way that rolls off the tongue. That's a great bit. Yeah, we didn't really mention before that review the Gina scene. It's just so odd. I mean, I like her performance in the movie. Aside from that,
there really isn't much to say beyond like it's just uncomfortable, and I'm not a fan of incest in movies. I know that might be a hot take, but I'm not a fan.
Yeah, no, I prefer not.
Yeah, I think it's like these days things are a little different with like House of the Dragon. Like I remember everyone being like, "Why isn't she with Damon?" And I'm like, "Well, that's her fucking uncle. Like, why are you shipping that?"
Yeah, has Game of Thrones like that whole realm has that like normalized like rooting for incest in pop culture?
Kind of. Yeah,
I hate it. I think it's fucking weird. I think it's like one of Game of Thrones like worst traits.
Well, like the whole Jon Snow and Daenerys, like when they
Yeah.
they found out she was his aunt. Everyone was still like, yeah, but they could still make it work. I was like, that's a weird thing to root for, people. Like, why are no?
Yeah.
Jesus.
Yeah, but like they're so cute together. Like, what? Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I think that's bizarre, but whatever, man. Yeah, it's always fun to do the letterbox bit. Catch some funny lines from different people, and yeah, I try to get people who are popular on there, who aren't popular. There's all kinds of different letterbox users. One of my favorite things about letterbox recently is that Mr. Martin Scorsese. Did you see he made one?
That is cool.
It's pretty neat, dude. He's like already like done a lot of like logging and whatnot, and he like made he made a list, I believe, of movies to double feature with his movies. The power.
It's a little pretentious, but you know what? If he's earned it, he has.
Yeah, I think I'm trying not to like mistake exactly what the list is, but I looked at it. I followed him immediately, like the day I found out. So did like 94,000 other people, and then I was like looking at his stuff, and I'm pretty sure he made a list of like a bunch of his favorite like foreign movies or whatever, and like this and that. And I think he made a list of like here's movies to like go with my movies. So I'm like, yeah, I mean, you're like 90, you can do whatever you want. You're the man, Marty.
That's cool. Right now I'm only I only follow one celebrity, Eyzaguirre.
Oh, dude, she's great. Yeah.
Yeah, her review for Bottoms was hilarious. She was like, "I'm in it, so dot dot dot." Like that was it. That was all she put.
Yeah, yeah. Wouldn't it be great? The first person, celebrity, filmmaker, actor, whatever, that I followed on Letterboxd was Sean Baker, the guy who directed Florida Project, Tangerine, and he wrote a Florida like because his name isn't like super recognizable or whatever, and he like wrote a review for the Florida Project. It was like, God, I fucking hate this guy. Like make a better movie. And like I saw it and I was like, wait, Sean Baker, isn't that the name of the director? And I looked on there and I was like, oh, it's like a fake fucking review. Like he's just God, fuck this guy. So sick of him. It's great. So I followed him immediately. I follow a ton of people, and if I see any director that I like or our actor actress, I'm gonna follow them because I think it's so fascinating to match like your watching habits with someone who like does this for a living.
That is, yeah, I do like that. Every time like Eyzaguirre likes a certain movie, it's always something very obscure or foreign or something I've never heard of. I immediately drop it into my watch list and just go from there.
That's what I mean. I think I said the word match. I'm not saying like copy what they do. It's more just like line yourself up like by just pure consumption, like intake of how many movies, like quantity, quality. It's just interesting. It's just always been fascinating to me to like hear other people talk about what they really like, what they're watching. So like for her, she clearly is like into this shit. She's not just watching like what people tell her to. It's more so like a personal journey. And I love that. I respect the shit out of that.
Me too. Recommendations are like, I only really take them from like you and Caleb. Everyone else is kind of like, I don't know. Certain people on the team, I've, definitely accepted some recommendations, but overall it's like, there's very few people I trust in that realm.
I feel like you and I both know each other so well that we can throw a movie out there like, hey man, like, oh, you haven't seen this? This is fucking sick. And it's not like, what? You haven't seen this? It's more so when you find time, when it comes to you, enjoy it. It's more so about that than like, dude, you have to watch it this week. Like, that's just not, no, like, I've got other shit I'm doing, like, yes, there have been a couple times where I've dropped like what I'm doing because someone says, dude, like this is made for you. And I'll look up and I'm like, oh, they might be right. And I'll do it. And it's rewarding. But movies come to you, man. Movies always come to you. Art comes to you. Music comes to you. Someone sends you something. If you listen to it right then or a week later, to me, it doesn't make a difference.
I think the only time I've ever like, I really try not to be the like, what, you didn't see that? What are you doing kind of person? I hate that. The only time I really did that was when I found out you hadn't seen The Thing.
Oh,
That was
valid.
I had to be like, dude, you need to watch this now.
That's valid, and I did. Like that night, I went home and watched it, and it was like, yeah. I mean, I knew that. It just helps to get that extra push sometimes from somebody. So yeah, I mean, there's probably fucking 10,000 movies that are like up your alley, right? You'll find them. Through the thick and the thin, like you'll find them. They'll be there. They'll come around.
Yeah, my personal watch list that I have made on Letterboxd of every film ever made that I have not seen is currently 10,758 films strong.
Yeah, and you're going to continue to add to it.
I'm going to continue to add to it. I'm going to continue to remove from it when I have the time. I've had to separate I'm currently working on my DVDs, and then I'm going to work on my Blu-rays, and then my Vudu collection, and then I will tap into that list.
There you go.
Yeah.
Yeah, you want to knock out the things you own.
Yes.
The things you own end up owning you.
I was wondering if you were going to, yep, exactly. But yeah, I like having an endless pool to randomly select from. That's just everything I've heard of or heard about. Yeah. I never know, it's everything. It's documentaries. It's all cultures. It's all time periods. It's everything. Because I'll randomly select, it could be some shit I've never even heard of. And it could be my new favorite movie. I will never know unless I watch it. Yeah,
unless you give it that honest go.
Yes.
An honest watch. Yeah, I love that, man. Good shit. Great way to end the episode. I love talking movies, man. If you like to become a monthly donor to Filmgazm Productions, feel free to click on the link in the episode description. From there, click support this podcast. Any amount of donations will go right back into the podcast. We appreciate anything you can give. Check out filmgazm.com. Again, check out Letterboxd. Not to speak about that too much. I feel like we're a commercial for them sometimes, but go to Connor95, search Connor's name. Under his followers and following, you can find the rest of the team. Thanks to the entire Filmgazm team for their contributions to the show. Special shout out to Cooley Cal for our theme music. And most of all, thank you all for listening. Keep watching movies, and we'll see you very soon. Thank you.